on a parachute harness. They'll do a last-minute check of all my equipment to make sure everything looks good before I climb on board. And then I'd get on my hands and knees and crawl inside, strap into my seat, and once everybody was loaded up, they would close the hatch. Everybody moved 3.5 miles away from us, and then we just waited for the countdown. And everything was quiet inside until about 6 seconds before liftoff. Then the 3 engines at the tail of the shuttle start coming up to full power. We're still physically bolted down to the launch pad at that point. And the computers are checking everything, and once the computers say those 3 engines look good, then we would light those 2 big solid rocket boosters, and immediately we would take off. And liftoff feels like somebody has their hand in the middle of your back, pushing you up into the sky. And that's what the shuttle's doing, literally pushing us, throwing us up in the air there. This picture's taken 4 seconds after liftoff. We're going 120 miles an hour already. So we don't ease off the launch pad. It is literally boom, and you accelerate faster and faster every second there. You see, we launch right, here at the Kennedy Space Center, right along the Atlantic Ocean. So just, an eighth of a mile, a few hundred yards from the beach there. This picture is taken from a NASA chase plane that was flying in the area there. And this is maybe 15 seconds after liftoff. 2 minutes into the flight, we're 25 miles up in the air, and after 2 minutes, we're traveling nearly a little more than 2,000 miles an hour. And those 2 solid rocket boosters that you see here, they've used up their fuel. They separate off to the side, and these would fall back and land in the Atlantic Ocean offshore here, about 100 miles offshore. And NASA would have boats out there. We'd recover them, bring them back to the Kennedy Space Center, then clean them up, load them up with new fuel, and use them again. So at this point, we have a space shuttle right here. Those 3 white dots you see are the 3 main engines burning. Here's our big fuel tank, and that's going to take us the rest of the way to space. 8.5 minutes after liftoff, the engine shut down. Gets perfectly quiet for a second, and there's a big kaboom. We fire some explosive bolts, and the space shuttle would separate from that big fuel tank. And this thing would just fall back in the atmosphere and burn up like a shooting star. It's the only part of the shuttle we didn't reuse. Just use it the one time. We'd get up there, it would separate and fall down, and that would leave us in with the space shuttle orbiting the Earth. Only takes 8.5 minutes to get to space. That was always amazing to me in all my flights. It probably took you more than 8.5 minutes to get from the parking lot here today, right? Think about that. In 8.5 minutes, you're 200 miles above the Earth, you're traveling 18,000 miles an hour. 18,000 miles an hour is 5 miles every second. So think about getting from here to Orlando, maybe in 9 or 10 seconds. This is the way to travel. No toll roads, nothing like that, just a direct flight. And we go so fast that we orbit the Earth, go all the way around in only an hour and a half. And in space, you don't walk around like we're used to doing here on Earth. When you want to move around in space, it just takes a little push with your finger, just the slightest push, and you go sailing through the air like Superman or Superwoman. And you'll keep sailing until you hit an opposite wall or until you reach out and grab a hold of something. If you like to do flips, you can start doing a somersault in the air, and you'll go round and round all day, as long as you want until you get tired and you reach out and stop yourself. So it's a lot of fun just floating around up there, being up in space. And in space, there's no up or down. If you've ever hung upside down from a tree of the monkey bars, or when you stand on your head, you know all the blood rushes to your head and you feel like your head's going to expand a little bit. Well, that doesn't happen in space. Without gravity, you go upside down, you feel totally normal. And wherever your head is pointed, your brain says that's up. And wherever your feet are pointed, your brain says that's down for you. So these are 2 astronauts from my second flight. This is Nancy and Kevin. And Nancy's looking at Kevin here saying, hey, Kevin, you're upside down. Well, he's looking right back at her saying, no, you're upside down. In this little world here, she's the one that appears to be upside down. So it doesn't matter how you orient yourself as you maneuver around in space, when you're up there, however your head is pointed, your brain says that's up for you. Now in space, we don't have a refrigerator, freezer, microwave oven, nothing like that. So all of our food is freeze-dried. And it'll stay preserved a long time like this in these small plastic packages I can hold it here. It's hard like a rock. I could probably pound a nail in with this. But when you want to prepare it, you bring it over to a little food station. There's a needle that'll poke inside that package. We can inject some hot water in there. That dry food will absorb the water, soften up, and after 3 or 4 minutes, it's ready to eat. We just cut it open with a pair of scissors, and then we can eat it with a normal fork or spoon. All the food has a little blue dot of Velcro on it, and after we prepare our meals here, we can just Velcro it to ourselves, maybe float over to a window, and you can watch the Earth go by as you have lunch or dinner right there. We don't have dinner plates because what would happen in space? It's just going to float off of there. So everything has that Velcro. We stick it to ourselves. These little blue squares in that picture are Velcro as well, so we can stick things on the wall. Now in space, you can't drink out of a normal cup or glass or bottle like we have here on Earth. If I had a bottle of water in space and I tipped it upside down to get a drink, nothing would happen. Without gravity, the liquid won't pour out. So we don't drink out of a cup or bottle, we drink out of these little foil pouches here. And these have powdered juice in them. This one's powdered lemonade, we've got powdered orange juice, powdered coffee, powdered tea, all kind of drinks. And when you want to prepare one of these, you bring it to that food station, you poke the needle in there, you can inject hot water, cold water, whatever you want. Then you mix it up, poke a straw in there, and you squeeze it in your mouth. It's like Capri Sun juice drinks, those little juice bags or the juice boxes that the kids may have in their lunches every day, just like that. And in space, you know, sleeping is a little different than down here on Earth. Inside the shuttle, we don't have dedicated bedrooms because it's pretty small. Inside the shuttle is maybe the size of your kitchen at home. So when it comes time to go to bed, we've got sleeping bags. We can attach them. Whoops. Sorry. We can attach them with a couple of clips here to the wall of the shuttle, and you just float up, slip inside your sleeping bag, you can zip it up, and you're ready for bed. And you see these dark blue straps along the waist here? We can tighten those straps down, and it'll pull your back up against the wall of the shuttle. And it puts a little pressure on your back to make you feel like you're laying on your mattress at home. Because if you're just floating in the air sleeping there, it feels really strange. You're so used to having pressure on your body laying on your bed down here on Earth that when you take that pressure away, it feels weird. So for the first couple of days at least, until we get used to it, we can tighten those straps, pull your back up, and it feels a lot more normal there. You see this astronaut's got eye shades on there? We go around the Earth every hour and a half. You get 45 minutes of daylight, 45 minutes of nighttime, so if you don't want the sun coming in your eyes all the time, you need to wear the eye shades there. Now in space, we don't have a bathtub, we don't have a shower, we don't even have a sink like you have in your kitchen or bathroom at home. So when it comes time to clean up, we have some of those drink bags, and instead of having powdered juice in them, some of them will have powdered soap. And you can add hot water, mix up a bag of hot soapy water, squeeze it on a washcloth, and you kind of give yourself a sponge bath to clean up. For washing your hair, we have this special shampoo. It's called no-rinse shampoo. And this stuff was developed for people who are in the hospital that can't get out of bed to take a shower. And you don't need any water for this. All you do is squirt some of it in your hair, you work up a lather, and then you take a towel and pat it dry and you're done. And I took this picture. I love the bottom line on the bottle there. If you can read it, it says, "For beautifully clean, full-body hair." And I just want to share with you what that looks like. That's it. Anybody with longer hair is going to float all over up there. And I'm not picking on Susie. Even my short hair would float all over. And they say every day in space is a bad hair day up there. Exercise is really important in space. You know, as I stand up here in front of you today, I'm using my leg muscles to fight gravity and to walk around. In space, it's just a little push with my finger to move, a little push to stop, and everything is weightless up there. I can lift this podium with one finger in space. I can lift your car with one finger in space. Okay, so we're not using our muscles much at all. So it's important for us to exercise. We have this little bicycle that we flew on the shuttle. We can strap our feet in and just pedal away. And we ride this about an hour a day. We get your heart muscle working, get your leg muscles working, so that when you come back to Earth at the end of the mission, you're still in decent shape. For the astronauts up on the space station, they live up there for 6 months at a time. And they exercise 2 to 3 hours a day. And they need every minute of that to maintain their muscle strength and bone density, and even that isn't sufficient. They still come back, you know, greatly weakened from being up there. You guys know what this is? You want to skip this one? Just move on? You want to hear about this? Okay, we'll talk about it. You know, the toilet's in a small closet area, kind of like that door right here. Just like a small cabinet. It's got a curtain that goes across the front, just like a shower curtain. And it's got a toilet seat right here, just like our toilets on Earth. But here on Earth, we use gravity to collect the waste material like a toilet, right? In space, everything floats. If you're laughing, I know you got that mental picture, okay? This toilet is kind of like a porta potty that you may see at a football game or a construction site. And in the bowl part of the toilet down here, we have giant fans. When you want to go to the bathroom, there's a little button out there. You push it forward. It activates those fans, and it sucks air from the toilet seat downward. So we use this continuous downrush of air inside the bowl part of the toilet to kind of act like gravity to keep all the waste material in there. There's a little funnel here and a hose, that's what you pee into, and that's collected with a vacuum into a tank underneath the floor there. There's a couple places here to put your feet into, and there's these white bars on either side. These things come down and clamp down on top of your thighs to hold you down on the toilet so you're not floating all over when you're trying to go to the bathroom. I'll show you a few pictures of the Earth. Whenever an astronaut has a free moment, they always float to the window to watch the Earth go by. And it's spectacular to see our planet. I have a map in my hand here. I'm trying to figure out where we are around planet Earth. And I'm looking out one of the windows here towards the tail end of the shuttle. And I took a camera right up to that window, and I took a picture so you can see exactly what my eyes are seeing as I look out the back window. And this is what I'm looking at right now. And that's just the Earth. All the blue you see there is the Pacific Ocean. The white are puffy clouds, and typically those clouds are 5 or 6 miles above the Earth. We're 200 miles up, so we're well above the atmosphere there. And over here is Baja California, looking south, and that's just the mainland of Mexico there. This is a hurricane, and I saw many storms when I was up there. This was a huge hurricane out over the Pacific Ocean, about 400 miles across. And we flew directly over the top of this thing, and you could look out the window and look straight into the eye of the hurricane. And you could see the blue water of the Pacific Ocean. The next picture will show you what it looks like looking right into the eye, right there. So you're looking right into it. It's like so amazing to see that. The eye is typically maybe 15 or 20 miles across. Pretty light winds in the center, but right here, this is called the eye wall, where you get the highest winds in a hurricane. Here's a volcano just venting steam. This was a volcano down in Indonesia, in the South Pacific. There's a volcanic crater over here, half underwater. These are all volcanic islands in that part of the world. These are the Himalayan mountains. And right here, dead center, this is Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on planet Earth. And right there is the top of Mount Everest. And I can stand up here in front of you and tell you, I've seen the top of Mount Everest about 25 times during my missions. I know the lazy man's way to see the top of Mount Everest, right? No climbing, just drinking your juice, looking out the window. But I use this picture to illustrate some of the things that I got to see and do during my career. I've never climbed Mount Everest. I probably will never have that opportunity, but I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. I've seen the rainforest in Brazil down in South America. Mount Kilimanjaro, a big volcanic peak. All these incredible sights around our planet that I had the opportunity to see. And here's a picture of a sunrise from space. Because we go around the Earth every hour and a half, we get to see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every 24-hour day up there. And they're all a little different depending on clouds and volcanic dust and things like that. The one impression you have of watching a sunrise from space is to see how thin our atmosphere is, because you're looking at it edge on. On a sunny day here on Earth, you look up at the blue sky, it looks like it goes on forever and ever. But from space, when you see it edge on, you see our atmosphere is about 20 miles thick. And I think that's the overriding impression that astronauts come back to Earth with, is how fragile our planet is. The atmosphere doesn't go on forever. Our oceans aren't infinite. And you can see the impacts that humans are having on our planet as you go around it. And here's a great shot of Florida, taken out the window of the International Space Station here. Here's the Florida Keys coming down here, Lake Okeechobee, and that little peninsula sticking out there. That's Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center right about in there. These are just the Bahamas and probably Cuba right there. At the end of the mission, then, it's time to come home. We fired 2 engines in the back of the shuttle. It would slow us down from 18,000 miles an hour to 17,000 miles an hour. Sounds like we're still going fast, but at that speed, the shuttle will start to fall back to Earth. And we would fire those engines halfway around the world out over the Indian Ocean, and the shuttle would fall as we cross the Pacific. It falls as we cross the United States, and we would land here at the Kennedy Space Center just a few miles from our launch pad. We put out a drag parachute that would pop out to help slow us down, and we just put the brakes on, roll to a stop at the end of the runway, and wait for somebody to open the hatch to get us out. It would take them about an hour before they would get to us and open the hatch. And when you first come back from space, you feel like you weigh about 2,000 pounds. Because you've been floating around weightless for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you come back to this polar gravity. Just the normal gravity we have in here today, but it feels so heavy. You're a little dizzy when you get back because our inner ear doesn't work properly, it kind of shuts down in space. So when you get back, you're a little wobbly and very weak. It takes about a day for the dizziness to go away and a few days to get your full muscle strength back. On July 21st, this past summer, we had the very last space shuttle landing back on Earth here at the Kennedy Space Center. This is Space Shuttle Atlantis, just touching down right before dawn here. And many people thought, that's the end of the shuttle program, that's the end of the space program, that's the end of NASA, that's the end of everything. But that's definitely not the case. We still have the International Space Station passing overhead. That's been up there for about 11 years already that we've been working on this. It'll be up there for another 10 years. This thing is huge, about the size of a football field. All those gold panels you see there are the solar panels to generate electricity. We currently have 3 astronauts up there, 1 American and 2 Russians. And in about 10 days, we're going to launch another crew of 3 up there, an American, a Belgian, and another Russian going up there. So we'll have 6 people up there right around Christmas. And they stay up there for 6 months at a time. And they're doing scientific research, looking at how plants and animals behave in space. They're also studying the human body, what happens to humans when they're in space for a long period of time. And we're developing the systems that we're going to need to send crews on future missions to further destinations. So we'll talk about some of those here. Right now, since the shuttle program's over, we're launching our astronauts up and down on the Russian rocket called Soyuz. It's got a capsule up there, and that holds 3 astronauts. And then at the end of the mission, they come down with a parachute and land back on Earth. We have a company out in California called SpaceX, and they're developing commercially on their own, not a government program, but a private program. They're developing a capsule they're calling the Dragon, and this will hold 7 astronauts. And this will be taking our crews up and down to the space station in a few years here. So they'll launch it here from Cape Canaveral. They'll go up, dock with the International Space Station. Astronauts will stay up there for 6 months, then they'll get back in the capsule and come back down and land in the ocean again. And just this summer, NASA announced the development of a new launch vehicle called the Space Launch System. You know, the shuttle program, the shuttle's a huge vehicle, but it wasn't big enough to go to the moon, to go beyond that at all. And this new rocket will have that capability to send us out beyond Earth orbit, going to the moon, Mars, and beyond that as well. And this new one, if you get a chance to see the Saturn V exhibit that we have here, if you go out and see that huge rocket that's longer than a football field, this new rocket of the Space Launch System will be even larger than that. There'll be 2 versions, a cargo version that will carry payloads up to space, and then they'll have a smaller version that will have a capsule on top for the astronauts. And we'll be launching them right here at the Kennedy Space Center. The capsules will be similar to the Apollo capsules that we used to go to the moon. They're just going to be a little larger than that. This is an artist drawing of one, and they have a model of one outside the gift shop here. You can go take a look at it. It'll hold a crew of 6 or 7. And where are the destinations? Where are we going to go with these rockets and our capsules? Well, this is just some of the places we hope to go to. Maybe we go back to the moon. Maybe learn to build a lunar base there so that we can learn how to have humans sustain themselves kind of independent of Earth. There's also another target is to go visit an asteroid and to go there and maybe do some mining to see what's the composition of them. There's a lot of valuable resources on some of these asteroids, and maybe we can go there and mine them. And then beyond that, we have Mars, which I think is a great destination. I think early plans are maybe to land on one of the moons of Mars. Mars has 2 moons, they're about 10 miles, 20 miles across, something like that. We could land on one of those moons, and then maybe in the future actually land astronauts on the moon. And let me tell you, the astronauts that are going to be going to Mars, the astronauts that are going to be going to Mars are our young students that are in here today, okay? I'm way too old to go to Mars. For all the parents, you're too old to go to Mars, and for the students, your teachers are all too old to go to Mars. But you guys are a unique generation. 30 years from now, you're going to be the perfect age to be those astronauts going to Mars, to be those scientists and engineers and technicians working here at the Kennedy Space Center. So we've got a lot of exciting programs ahead in the future that our young students can be a part of here. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention. We'll turn off the lights and see if anybody's got any questions here.
Okay, if you have any questions for Don, please feel free to go ahead and raise your hands. We will bring the microphone over to you. And let's start with the young lady right here in the front.
What do you think? Why do you think it's important to be an astronaut?
Why do you think it's important to be an astronaut? You know, I wanted to do it since I was little, and this is the element of exploration. Like, why does anybody climb a mountain? Why did Columbus cross an ocean? We want to go out there, we want to learn, we want to explore, we want to learn like about the universe, try to understand how the solar system formed, look for other signs of life, and to send humans out there, you know, firsthand to search for that. I think is very exciting. So I always wanted to do it because I'm a scientist. I like exploring. I like learning. And, you know, I wanted to experience things like zero gravity and to study the Earth to get it in perspective from 200 miles up.
Question right here.
What do you need to train to be an astronaut?
Okay, what do you do during training to become an astronaut? That's a great question. Once I got selected by NASA to be an astronaut, it took 4 years of training before I first flew in space. And I trained, they taught us all about the spacesuits and how the shuttle operates, and we practiced doing spacewalks underwater, and we spent a lot of time in the classroom, just like you do every day at school. We spent a lot of time in the classrooms, we would go out and fly jets, so it was something different every day. But a lot of training, a lot of the time in the shuttle simulators, to learn how the shuttle flies, how to operate, what to do in case something breaks, one of the engines shuts down during launch. What do you do? And we have to be ready for that. So we train and train and train, spend hundreds of hours in the simulators practicing all parts of the mission there. So it's a full-time job, 4 years. It's like being in college for 4 years, and you're training every day for that mission.
Good question here.
Are there a lot of hazards in getting people on and off from launching and finding that space station up there?
The main hazard is launching itself. And we've had 135 shuttle missions, and we've lost 2 vehicles, you know, during that. Both of them occurred, like one of them occurred actually during launch. The other was a piece of debris during launch hitting the wing of the shuttle, which damaged it, so when it came back down, it came apart. So the really big hazard for us is launch, typically, because you're sitting on 500,000 gallons of explosive fuel, and you've got these high-speed pumps just pumping all that fuel to the engines. There's many things that can break, you know, during it. So that is the real hazard. Getting to the space station, once we launch, we have so much experience in the last 50 years that it's pretty routine for us to dock to the space station anymore. That used to be a big deal, doing the docking, you know, back in the early days of the space program, but nowadays, you know, it's done pretty routinely. The Russians always do automatic dockings, like robotic dockings. They don't need any astronauts on board. They're allowed to, capable of just doing totally automated dockings there. So with the right sensors and controls, you know, it's like our drones that people can fly from the ground. They can you know, dock and do that fairly easily up there anymore.
Question right here.
Yes, how would you convince my 3 children that they should have a career in maths or science?
You know, I studied hard in math and science. I worked really hard in school, and I got to go around the Earth 700 times to do something really amazing. So I always tell young students, you work hard in school, you will do equally, if not more amazing things in your career than I was able to do. You just never know, you know, the opportunities out there are amazing for you. And the harder you work, the more education you get, the more opportunities that are available for you. So I have done amazing things, had incredible experiences, you know, and I go back and like what allowed me to do that? It all started with working hard in school. Let me tell you, I'm not the smartest person in the world. When I was in school, I was like an average student. In elementary school, I got mainly B's, a few C's, and a few A's. But I worked really hard. I worked really hard. In middle school, I did better. High school, I was doing better, getting better grades. But I got those grades because I worked hard. I have a twin brother who's like a genius. And he didn't have to work hard. He got A's like that. And I was one of those people, I had to work hard to get them. So I learned how to work hard and you know, achieve things, and what you can get to do, like again, the opportunities that are available, you know. So by working hard in math and science, or any field at all, you will achieve things and have incredible experiences in life. And that's what it's all about, being on this planet. You want to, take in all the life you can, have all the experiences, go on vacations to the Kennedy Space Center, climb mountains, go to the beach, things like that. And just professional experiences that you get to do. So I would encourage you. Your 3 students here? Yeah. Work hard in school. You will do amazing things.